Let's talk about that Minnesota team because they have won 11 games in a row that Julius Randle has played. They're 6-0 with him in the lineup since he returned. They beat the Nuggets again, 5 straight wins against the Nuggets earlier this week. And once again, man, like it is crazy how much Minnesota seems to have figured out Denver and what they did defensively in that game against the Nuggets offense, leaving certain guys open, Westbrook on some possessions, Pickett on others, Najee on others, creating a wall around the rim. I know Jokic scored over 30 points, but I thought from a game plan perspective in terms of filtering where they want Jokic to pass the ball, it was magnificent. Again, with all their length and versatility, they come out and execute their game plan at such a high level defensively.
They did. Rudy Gobert quietly is a top 3 defender on Jokic. When you look at the numbers, it's Zubats and Gobert are 2 of the primary defenders that can actually not just manage Jokic, but also the team defensive rating is less than 100. When you look at Rudy Gobert guarding Jokic this season, the Nuggets are averaging less than a point per possession in a lot of possessions. And he was the primary defender on Jokic in that last game. This is a formula that can work when the Nuggets do not have Aaron Gordon, when they have to rely on those depth pieces, the bench guys, 9, 10, 11 on their depth chart. That's going to be a problem. And the Denver Nuggets are not the same when they don't have their full complement of players. And that's obvious for every team, but especially with such a thin roster like the Denver Nuggets. The Minnesota Timberwolves are playing with a lot of fire. They're playing with a lot of defensive intensity that we were missing from the first half of the season. And maybe it's just a matter of getting more minutes and reps with Donte Divincenzo, with Julius Randle. You mentioned 11-0 in Julius Randle games. I'll also point out DDV. This dude is averaging 16, 5, and 5 in his last 12 games, and he's shooting 49% from downtown. He is very much looking like a 6th man of the year candidate. Too late to get that now, but that was the vision with Donte DiVincenzo. And Mike Conley's playing a little bit sharper. This team is got the depth that you don't have with the Denver Nuggets. And yes, depth is less important in the playoffs when the rotations shrink and you're only playing 6, 7, 8 guys, big minutes. But man, Minnesota looks really strong right now. And I will also caveat, if we're going to do this with the Warriors, we have to keep that same energy with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They beat Dallas by 1. They played Denver, of course. They won that one. Atlanta with no Trae Young, no Dyson Daniels. Phoenix, Utah, Phoenix, Philly, Charlotte, Miami, San Antonio, and then Denver. So the schedule has been soft, but they have taken advantage of that soft schedule, and they have won every single one of those games. So hats off to them.
And it continues to be soft. I mean, like their remainder schedule is pretty weak for the rest of the season. Like if you're betting on a team that's going to move up in the standings, obviously Golden State is rolling. They're currently the 6th seed. They very well might be the team that ends up moving up, but Minnesota only a half game back at the moment. They could as well. They're currently the 7th seed. Warriors are 3 back from the Lakers and the Rockets, 4 back from the Grizzlies and the Nuggets. Just add a half game for Minnesota currently in that 7th spot. These standings could shuffle quite a bit, especially for as long as LeBron is out. For the Lakers, he is currently day-to-day along with some other Lakers starters. We'll see, man. But Minnesota and Golden State have very, very easy schedules for the remainder of the season, with Minnesota having an even easier schedule, I would argue. So for the Wolves, I think you're right. You got to keep the same energy with them there. With that said, I do think this, with the games on the schedule, like I said with Golden State, their pieces have looked great. Everything seems to fit. With Minnesota, it's the same thing right now. Everything seems to fit. And friend of the show, Dane Moore, made a post recently where he's like, I see how Julius Randle made All-NBA teams, because the way Randle's playing right now, he's leading the Wolves in assists this month. They're putting the ball in his hands. He's facilitating. He's making good decisions. He's playing harder on defense. It's like, this is the best version of Julius Randle again. We're seeing that version of Randle. It's so funny. I can't think of another guy in the NBA where I go from just hating to watch him more than anybody to loving to watch him, but in the back of my mind thinking, when is he going to turn back into the Randle that I hate? It's just so crazy, the disparity in these versions of Julius Randle.
He is probably up there, top 5 most polarizing player in the league. And when you look at the last 5 games, he has more assists in the last 5 games than he's had in any 5-game stretch since 2021. So that's been 5 years since he was on this kind of run, this heater in terms of distributing and playmaking. And that's what you want to see from Julius Randle, right? It's not dribbling the air out of the ball time and time again. It's setting up your teammates, making smart plays. And, the 3-point shot is something that is kind of the swing skill for him, is when the shot's falling like it was against Denver, it's tough to beat the Timberwolves. And again, DDV, I'm not going to say the Timberwolves won that trade, but the way that the team has been playing as of late and the way that the New York Knicks have been kind of hitting a wall as of late, I do think that this is as close as it's ever been in terms of the results of that trade, the Cat trade this offseason, where they got the pick, they got Donte Divincenzo and Julius Randle. And at first I thought that was a heist for the New York Knicks, getting Karl-Anthony Towns. And the way the slow start from Minnesota and DDV and Julius Randle, I was kind of like, man, highway robbery. But the way that they've been playing recently, I don't think you can argue that it's been a clear winner either way on that trade. And that's something that I would not have foreseen earlier this season.
No, especially with Randle playing the way he is now. And DiVincenzo has significantly improved since his slow start of the year. And I mean, look, dude, like not all teams click right away. It's just the reality of it. And you're trading a fixture of your starting lineup and Karl-Anthony Towns, who helped define he was a big piece in figuring out who Minnesota was last season defensively, with him sliding to the 4, effectively playing that way next to Rudy Gobert, offensively with his spacing and his connective passing ability, the downhill attacking. It takes a lot of time sometimes for certain teams to figure out how to be a new way, especially with guys like Randle. And so for Minnesota, the way they're playing right now, again, easier schedule recently, but the way they've been playing, it's encouraging for their chances to be one of those teams that could upset in the first round.